Hello, so today's just going to be a VOD review. This game, it wasn't particularly high roll, it wasn't particularly low roll, but it's just like an idea of a Arcanist line. So if you haven't played around Arcanist before, Arcanist is very like awkward, right? It's a very high roll comp, but it also saves a lot of HP awkwardly. So you can play it for a top 4 if you're really familiar with it and you kind of understand how it fits into certain boards. I vote for Trainer Sentinels here. I felt like the other ones, like the other portals, are equally as either dry or really fucking dumb. So like 3 champions is like really dry, but like, you know, I'm kind of in a mood where it's like, you know, I'd rather just play the Trainer Sentinel and have a more fun game, even though it's a little bit more variance. But Trainer Sentinel, it's not that bad, right? I feel really comfortable with Trainer Sentinel because I know so many of the comps just from like playing so many games this set that I feel like I can make something work with my Trainer Sentinel as long as I don't overcook, as long as I like stick to something that's actually good. But the main thing with Trainer Sentinel is that the biggest variance you can have is when multiple people have the same thing. Right, so let's say in this lobby, right, I have Warden Arcanist. Let's say everybody in the lobby had Warden Arcanist. Then it becomes really difficult because they're going to hold on to Warden and Arcanist units because even if they're not playing like the vertical to like 8 Arcanist, for example, they're going to hold those units because it's synergized with their dummy and it can save them a lot of HP mid-game or even late game, and maybe they can pivot into it, etc. It just makes everything like really, really messy. Here, I'm starting the game off with 2 Luxes. So I'm looking at my spot and I'm thinking, okay, I can probably just play towards Arcanist as long as I get dropped something of either like a bow or a rod or like even another item. I maybe can make it work. 8 Arcanist is a really strong spike. Usually if you're playing 6 Arcanists, like you're not playing with an Arcanist +1, it's very, very risky. Because Arcanist, you have to high roll and you have to hit multiple 3-stars, right? You have to hit 3-star front line, you have to hit 3-star back line, you have to hit multiple 3-star back lines usually, and then you're maybe in like a top 3 position, right? That's like to guarantee a top 3, right? You can go 4th with like some upgrades if things work out and some people like troll in your lobby, but it's like a very high roll, very difficult comp. Here I don't see anything that's like particularly incredible of a silver augment to me. I really like taking Silver Spoon. Today there's not going to be inking, by the way, or maybe I should get the inking working. Give me a second. The inking's going to be really important for later. Okay, let me do this. But basically, I really like the ability to just like randomly hit high level units. So being level 5 on stage 2-1 basically ensures that most of the stage I'm gonna be level 5 for all of stage 2, right? Which gives you a lot of chances of randomly hitting a 4 cost, randomly hitting a lot of 3 costs, and because I'm playing a comp where I need to find a lot of the 3 costs, it's really important for me to be a high level, so I feel like this synergizes the best with my game plan, right? It does make you a little bit broke, but being level 5 early, I feel like it's a good compromise. People are really strong. This guy's 2 items, Darius 2, Duelist +1. Ah, Jesus Christ. You know, it's going to be one of those games. But I'll talk about it a little bit later as well. But Arcanist is like this awkward line. I find it really fun. It's always one of my go-to pocket picks. It's just really hard to play because unless you have a really good spot for it, you know, despite like the nerfs, despite the buffs and the way they played around it, it's a little bit awkward, right? But this is why I decided to go for Arcanist. I know I have Dragon Lord, which spikes my board really hard, right? Obviously, I can just play towards like level 9 vertical Dragon Lord, but there's a lot of duelist players. It's gonna be really hard to hit that cap, as well as to find those units with as many duelist players in the lobby. I think there's 2 of them, as well as other dummies that might end up playing towards Dragon Lord as well, right? In this spot, Arcanist Warden is really good because one of the biggest problems with Arcanist is not having enough front line. Finding some Amumu early, I credit that to Silver Spoon. Obviously, it's a high roll, but you know you gotta hit something, and that's the glory of Silver Spoon, increasing those odds of higher cost units. I even see a Galio here. Galio is just really expensive, right? I'd have to sell some units, and I can't really fit him in nicely on the board. But having Arcanist plus Warden early makes it so that I can hit the Arcanist thresholds early, and it also makes it that on level 9, I can play 4 Warden. Right? Now, I don't necessarily have to play 4 Warden on level 9, but just having like a lot more opportunity of frontline with the extra Warden emblem, these 2 work really nicely. And as you can see early game, I'm able to play this Amumu and this Lux, and then just play some like upgraded units, right? I'm just trying to kill units, I'm trying to preserve HP, right? I get 4 rerolls, so I'm just going around, I'm hoping to gather some units here. I find a Janna can synergize with the Dragon Lord, it might make me a little bit stronger. I should probably pick better frontline units, honestly. This extra duelist doesn't really matter. I do find a second Amumu, though, which is really nice. And I do have a tier, so I feel like I'm okay. As long as I get a rod at one point in the game, like 1 or 2 rods, I feel like I'll be in a good spot to, play towards Arcanists, right? But this is a really strong opener, right? I have 2 Amumus and I have 2 Luxes. Now, obviously, I'm in a spot like, I'm very broke, right? Look at this guy. It's Alawi, Aatrox 2, this guy 2, Ghostly Crest with Ink Shadow, 2 more Aatroxes over here with Champ Duplicator. I think he didn't even use his Duplicator, right? His Duplicator is right there. So this guy's in an insanely good spot for his comp, right? But anyways, you'll start to see, like, I'm playing the 2 Luxes for now, or I put the Janin over the 2 Luxes. Lux is really important. I'll talk about Lux a little bit later. We'll treat this like I played Lux reroll on this channel before, so if you really want to see a proper Lux reroll game, I suggest watching one of those videos where I actually hit Lux 3 and I play more towards those lines. Here I'm not gonna hit anything 3-star. I'm just gonna tell you now. This is gonna be like a rocky road and coast into a top 4, right? And I'm just trying to like play the best position I can. Here there's an Amumu with a tier. Right, extra tiers aren't necessarily bad, right? You'll need them for different units, different items, right? It's totally fine to have extra tiers in this comp, right? You really want tiers and rods; those are like the best items for this comp. But it gives me an Amumu 2 already, so you might consider high roll, you might consider low roll. I don't care what you consider it. As you can see, a lot of this is because of Silver Spoon. I'm basically Amumu 2 off rip, right? There's also 3 Garens in my shop. I just sell the Darius because like the Darius isn't really doing anything. I'm not really going to make an item to item hold the Darius. And I'm totally down to just play like the Amumu and double Garen, right? I just want frontline, right? Even though it's 3 Warden, these guys are still getting a Warden buff, even though they're like individual units. So that's why I'm just playing them. I'm holding on to these 2 Aries, right? Ari 2 is a good upgrade, don't get me wrong. But basically, I'm trying to see if I can make 10. I really want to make 10. So I'm not buying the Garen yet. Right? The reason I'm not buying the Garen is because if I win this fight, then I'll buy the Garen and then I'll upgrade next turn. If I lose this fight, I still want to be able to make 10. So I sold 1 Ari and I'm holding on to the Lux, right? This Amumu and this Lux is very expensive, right? This is 9 gold and this is an additional 4 gold. So I really need to be winning some fights here to preserve HP. And I really need to be like stable. Amumu luckily is one of those units, like an Amumu 2 is really tanky even in stage 4. He's just a general very, very good tank unit. Even with no items, I should be stronger than most people in the lobby, except if somebody like really high rolled and has a bunch of upgrades, right? Even though the rest of my units are kind of shit, I should be in a relatively good spot, right? At least with this Amumu 2, that puts me in like, nice thing. And lo and behold, what do we have? Another Amumu. So I'm already well on my way to playing towards like an Arcanist reroll line. Which is really nice, right? The biggest problem with Arcanists is that you need to make it to higher levels to find a Lysandra in order to find 8 Arcanists. But at the same time, you also need to awkwardly upgrade a lot of these low-cost units. So you have to like really, that's what I mean by it has to be a really high roll comp. You have to like be able to magically just hit random units, right? Here I put my Lux in the middle. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to like bait out the positioning of the units to kind of wrap around this Amumu. So that the Lux kind of, after the Lux kind of kills this Volibear, I'm going to have a clean shot straight to kill the backline. The way Lux works is that she reduces her damage by, I believe it's 30%. She has a 30% damage reduction for each unit that she hits with her ball, right? And the first 2 units that she hits with her ball, so the first 2 units she hits, she stuns them. And then after that, the first 2 units she hits, she stuns. After each unit that she hits, she does 30% less damage. So sometimes you really want to position in front of a tank and have like a line that gets a stun on units that are useful, right? Especially if there's like duelist players, you might want to like try and position to hit like both their Lee Sin and their Irelia if that's possible. If not, a lot of times it helps to have Lux position your units in such a way that you try and like eliminate a channel. You try and make like a clear path that the Lux can shoot her ball through and then hit the unit and do maximum damage and try and like cheese a fight by sniping a unit, right? Here, I'm just trying to make econ, so I'm just selling these 2 costs. I don't really need to play any of them in particular. With this emblem, I know what it looks like. It's like you can also play towards Faded, right? This would be a really good Fated thing because the Warden synergizes well with the Gnar up until late game, and it also the Arcanist synergizes really well. You can play like a 4 Arcanist variation and Dragon Lord for like max cap, right? There's options there. I think playing Fated would be a much better choice. I don't want anybody to look at this video and say like, oh, this emblem, why did you play Arcanist reroll? It's more so like I kind of like this comp. Protector's Vow is really good on Amumu. I'm pretty sure it's really good on Amumu, and then Shojin on Lux because that's her best mana item. But basically, the way I see it is that the Fated, there's some risks involved with the Fated. I don't have Dryad in early. If you've played Fated and you don't have Dryad in early, sometimes you just randomly go 8th, right? If the lobby's really strong, sometimes you play Syndra and you randomly just lose. And a lot of it's because you don't have the Dryad stacks. The Dryad stacks matter so much in that comp, especially if you're playing like the Fated variation where you have Dryad. You just randomly fucking lose the game, right? It happened to me too. Like I just went 8th. I was playing Syndra. I had Syndra 2. I had Ornn 2. I had Set. I had the whole board upgraded, right, except for the Set. And I just lost. I went 8th. I just insta lost because there was 2 people in the lobby that were 6 sniper. I fought them on repeat. I lost like 40 health on stage 4, and then I was 1 life, and I just died. And a lot of other people died like a turn after me. But you know, sometimes that just happens, right? So having that in recent thing, I kind of don't like to do it. Jeweled Lotus is really good. We'll double check it after. But I end up just taking Shock Treatment here. Shock Treatment doesn't look good in the stats a lot of time, but I really like it. Almost every time I take Shock Treatment, it just works really well for item economy. And a static Shiv is really, really important. Usually with tier items, I'm usually using tier items to make like mana items for the Arcanist so that they cast a bunch. So it's really hard to make a Shiv. But Shiv is really good because it can apply Shred to the backline, so reduce the magic resist of the backline units. And then it will allow my Lux to do more damage, right? Because a lot of times Lux, even Zoe as an Arcanist, you run into situations where you want them to like snipe the backline. Here I level and I slight roll on 6. I'm just looking for some sort of upgrade to stabilize my board. I find the Alawi, so now I'm 4 Arcanists. I really wanted to find a Lux pair. I have Lux paired. I really want to roll until I hit Lux 2, but I don't want to roll too deep because then, you know, I might run into a situation where I become really broke, and I think that's a problem. Anyways, let's go through some stats now. Let's just open up the thing. Let's go stats. And here we go. Let's look at this stuff, right? So it's hard to show exactly without excluding stuff, but let's just go 8 Arcanist, right? If you look at 8 Arcanists, average is like a 3.86. It's a pretty reliable top 4, right? A lot of times you need Alawi, you need Syndra. It says that it's plus Delta if you're playing a Lux, right? Let's say you just put here and you try to like put a Lux. You see the average will be the same. Let's say you put a Lux 2. You'll see the average starts to drop a little bit. And let's say you put a Lux 3. Then the average becomes a lot better, right? 8 Arcanists is really a high cap. Basically the way Arcanists work. I don't know if hovering it will show you the thing, but basically it just gives a bunch of AP, right? It's like you're building like one-shot giga crit builds, giga damage builds, right? If you're playing on Lux, the best item is always Shojin. Red buff is really good. It just does increased damage. Rabadon's is really good. Does increased damage. Adaptive Helm is also good because it gives AP and mana. Nashor's attack speed, right? A lot of these attack speed items are good on Lux. Not because she does like giga one-shot damage, but just because the repeated stun that she gets is really important, right? And then like the secret tech is that Horizon Focus is really good on Lux because she does a stun and then it does a lightning strike that does an extra 30% damage, right, when she stuns. So building around Horizon Focus is also really good. And then some of the like giga items don't really make sense, like Jeweled Gauntlet, Morello. Like some of these are a little bit worse. As you can see, almost every mana item or AP item that you can make in the game is okay on Lux. That's what I really like about Arcanists, right? A lot of the units, because they gain so much AP from the trait, they have like most of their things dealt with. You really only need like a mana item, and then you can kind of decide, do I make attack spear, do I make like one-shot build? And they kind of all work out to a certain extent, right? They're all like slightly good in your positioning, right? So like here, as long as you have a Lux 3, you're averaging close to a 3, and all of these make your positioning even better, so it gives you like a guaranteed like top 4 thing, right? Even a Lux 2 isn't that good. Obviously, I can exclude some of the other stuff. Whenever I'm saying 8 Arcanists, it means that I made it to a point where you have a Lysandra on your board, right? Because 8 Arcanists, you need an Arcanist +1, and then you need all the Arcanists, and the last Arcanist is Lysandra, which is a 5-cost unit. So it's obviously going to place really high if you hit 8 Arcanists, right? If you put Lux 2, and then you put 6 Arcanists, you'll see what I mean. This is like without a spat. and this is why the comp's a lot more risky. You'll see it averages close to a 5, and if you put like a 3-star Lux, it still averages like only a 2, right? 8 Arcanists is like this huge spike, and it's really important, but it's really like that's just how it's how it kind of crumbles, right? Lux reroll isn't like an insanely strong comp unless you have a really good spot for it, right? But yeah, Best Friends is good. Learning to Spell is obviously really good. Jewel Lotus 3 was really good, but I remember Jewel Lotus 2. Yeah, Jewel Lotus 2 is also pretty good. I just take the Static Shiv Augment. It doesn't show up here, right? Obviously, like if I go like Shiv Shock Treatment, you see it's obviously like a little bit of an increase. Jewel Lotus is obviously going to be better, right? This is a 3.82. And then Shock Treatment is at 3.9, right? But it's like a 0.1 difference, and it gives you like a lot of good item economy, right? Because with this comp, you really, really want to Shiv a lot of the time, right? Like as you can see here, like Snipers is also really good. We'll talk about that later, but Snipers is one of Lux's best items because she always hits like the furthest unit, so Snipers gives her the best value on that. But you usually want Static Shiv because it shreds the back line, right? So even if it's not on Lux, you want it on somebody on the team. So if I'm looking at my items and it's like, oh, I'm really far away from Shred, I'm really far away from a Shiv, that's why I take something. It's more like this is something I'm more comfortable with because I've played this line a lot, and I know that this will be a problem later, and it makes a huge difference, right? Even though like you might be fine with like, you know, putting a Spark on an Amumu, I just generally prefer to have it as that kind of build. In terms of your actual board, so I'll just like basically Arcanist is really easy because you basically just play all the Arcanists. As a joke, I think early in the set everybody called this the e-girl comp, which I found really funny, because like, you know, I'm not really playing it because they're all girl units. I'm more playing it because because I think it's cool, right? I think out of all the units in the game, like I talk a lot about certain units, like I really like Narn, I like Kindred, I like some of these units. I think by far my favorite unit in the set is Lux. I love the porcelain trait. I think they just all look really cool. I think Lux is just so cool. She just fucking throws a bowling ball down the alley, right? I think Nico is also really cool. I talk about Nico turning into a helicopter. She's so fucking cool. I talk about that all the time. And the rest of these units I don't really care that much about, right? So this comp has 2 of my favorite units, so I'll try my best to play it. You know, that's what usually happens. This is what your board usually looks like, right? This is a level 8 board, 8 Arcanist, right? If you don't have 8 Arcanist, basically it would be because +1 spat 8 Arcanist, right? But basically what you do is you play, you're trying to go for, if possible, Alawi 3, Amumu 3, Lux 3, and Zoe 3, right? A lot of times what happens though is that you don't hit this comp right away. A lot of times you won't have the Lysandra, and this will be your board on level 7. Right, this is what the reroll typically looks like. So you're playing 6 Arcanists, no spat on level 7, and you're rolling on level 7 for Lux, Amumu, and Zoe. And basically, the reason this comp I like it a lot is because there's multiple options to play around, right? Let's say you low roll on the Lux, then you can itemize the Zoe if you hit the Zoe. If you don't hit the Zoe, then you can always level and play Syndra, right? There's outs that if you're like cognizant enough, like I've played Arcanist games where like things aren't going well and I'm not stable, and then I just itemize Zoe instead of Lux, and all of a sudden I can get a top 4, right? Or if I'm not getting either of these, or I'm really far away from Amumu, really far away from Alawi, really far away from all of these, but I have a lot of gold, then you can always level. And even though Syndra isn't the best in this comp, you can play Syndra, and then on level 8 you just play 1 extra unit and you get like 3 faded. So you play 6 Arcanists, 3 faded, right? You just throw in a Thresh for fun, or Set usually works better, right? You can throw in a Set for fun, right? And you can play like the same board. You can transition to a Syndra board eventually, but you can play the same board and play around the Syndra and just play for like a top 4, right? You're not playing for like a first, but you can salvage placements out of it. And that's why I really like this comp, because if something doesn't work out, you can itemize somebody else and kind of make it work. But basically, because I'm +1 Arcanist, +1 Warden, what I eventually want to do is I want to get to, so this is level 8, I want to get to level 9 and play this board basically, right? And what this will be is 8 Arcanists, 3 faded, so I can itemize Syndra and Ahri to a certain extent, and it will be 4 Warden because I have a Warden crest and I have a I have both a Warden crest and I have a an Arcanist emblem. This obviously is worse than playing towards Dragon Lord. If I want to get like a first, it's obviously better to play towards Dragon Lord. But in my head, I was thinking to myself, if I get stuck on a low level and I'm already naturaled a bunch of Amumus and a bunch of Luxes, I can just play around these units instead. Right? That's like my main idea. Anyways, let's go back to the game. We're a little bit delayed. So I'm level 7. We'll just go back to wolves, right? Yeah, so I won a couple fights, I lost a couple fights. It's not ideal, but I have a lot of HP, right? The reason I have a lot of HP, I ended up itemizing my Lux this way, right? JG isn't the best, but that's what I got dropped, so I put JG on it. I already have Shred. Amumu, Protector's Vow on Amumu is really good because when Amumu casts, he does like healing and as well as AoE damage. So you really like it when Amumu casts, especially with the boiling, right? When Porcelain kind of works based on their cast, so it works really nicely. I use my other items to make a frontline item. This sword will probably just be another Shojin for somebody. But anyways, I'm basically playing around this board, and I just have a random Janna in because I'm just trying to, like, you know, be strong in a certain way. I see this Rakan. So this is actually really interesting, right? I see the Rakan. I sold the Soraka by accident, but I find another Soraka. I'm rolling a little bit deep on 7 because I really want to get a Lux 2, right? I want to either get a Lux 2, or if I hit Zoe 2 before Lux 2, then I'll sell the Lux and I'll put the items on Zoe, right? Remember what I was talking about before? If you find more Zoes than Luxes, you can always itemize Zoe instead of Lux, right? And you want to roll on 7 because you need that percentage chance to fit in the other Arcanists, as well as to find like a Lysandra, just high roll a Lysandra and make the game easy. This is the point of Lux being really strong, right? Lux, she randomly just kills units. She does, even a Lux 2, right? This is a Lux 2, but it's Arcanist. She has a bunch of AP, right? So long as she doesn't die, she can just do so much damage that even if you don't win every single fight, you'll have a lot of HP. That's the way you should always treat this comp, right? When you itemize Arcanists, because they have so much AP, they will kill something, right? Here I find a Sniper's Focus. That's Lux's best item. I was looking maybe for like a Giga Tank item. I didn't really have good gold augment to choose from, right? There wasn't like an insane combat or AP augment that would have helped me. So I decided to take Ornn Artifact, and I was thinking to myself, maybe I hit something that like just saves my game, right? There's also the other Lux item that I talked about. Remember the Seeker's Arm Guard or whatever? That's also really good on Lux because she does the stun. So I was like, there's like 1 or 2 things I can put on Lux. I can put any tank item on Amumu, and I'll be pretty happy. Right, I have 6 Amumus. I'll make it work like that. And then I just have Soraka and Rakan in because it gives me Dragon Lord and Altruist. So it makes my front line a little bit tankier. Obviously, I can change this Garen for another Warden when I have the chance. I have a Gnar in shop. I could probably have switched him for Gnar, and it would have been a little bit better. But this is like my basic setup, right? I'm not at a point where I can play 6 or 8 Arcanists. But I have a lot of front line. I have 4 Warden as my front line. I have Altruist, which helps my front line. I have Dragon Lord in, right? We're just kind of playing like a little bit of a flex board, right? It's not necessarily the strongest, but look, I'm a Lux 2. This Lux 2, if you have a good setup for it, like if you have like a good front line, like you have a Amumu with items, Alawi upgraded, stuff like this, this is the point, right? Even like if there's people that are weak, I will just kill units, right? And as you can see, like, even though I'm not the strong, this is not a strong board. I'm level 7 and my carry is a Lux 2. There are people that are going to have Lee Sin 2 this stage. There's people that are going to have Lilia 2 this stage. There's people that are going to have all sorts of fucking crazy ass boards, right? Like, look at these guys. This guy's a Lee Sin 2. Do you think I'm stronger than Lee Sin 2? No. But you save a lot of HP because Lux just randomly kills units because she does so much damage that if you position her in a good way, especially with Sniper's Focus here, this Lux 2 is doing as much damage as like a 4-cost carry. So a lot of people sleep on this Lux unit. I'm not saying she's broken. Don't force it and make it a thing. You'll lose a lot of LP. It's very situational, right? But because I played this comp so many times, I kind of anticipated based on looking at the field and looking at my own board. I was like, I'll probably be fine, right? Look here, right? This guy very much stronger than me. Obviously rails me, right? It's only a 2-unit loss, right? This is the way it works. If you don't hit your units really early and you don't high roll a lot of the units, you kind of just bleed out to like a 4th. That's what you're trying to do. Right now, what I'm thinking to myself is I need to get a 4th and all these guys have to die. That's all I care about, right? I'm last pick, which kind of sucks. It's Radiant item on Carousel. I would love this set with the, what's it called? Dvorka? I forget what it is, but Radiant Gargoyle would be great on my Amumu, right? I'm kind of down for it. But this is also a Nautilus, which is also a Warden I can put in on my board. Yeah, this guy just takes it. It's Sivert Rallying Cry. That's why everybody's fast. So I just take the Protector's Vow. Now, this is really funny. So it's not diminishing returns if you have a protect. I know I already have this thing. I already have the non-radiant. I have Radiant Protector's Vow, and then I have non-Radiant Protector's Vow. I'll show you in a second. Let me just pause this because I don't want to lose. I don't want to miss any of these fights because these are all super important. So let's go to stats. Oops. Let's go Explorer. Let's go Amumu. Oops. I always put too many M's. Amumu. Let's just say 3-star, and let's just say 8 Arcanists. We're just gonna pretend that it's max cap, even though it's not. As you can see, Protector's Vow is his best item. If we go just Radiant items, oh, it doesn't show Radiant items. Let's just put Amumu 3 then. Radiant items. Yeah, it's usually Spark. Spark's really good because it gives him health regen, and also because the Amumu does so much damage when he's 3-star on his own, having the Spark on him to just live forever is really important. And then it's like the Stone Plate, right? I forget which set what it was. I looked in the stats because I was actually really curious. But it doesn't really show it here. Maybe 2-star. I remember this thing, it didn't show that it was really great, but there's so few games with it that it's hard to tell. But basically what I wanted to show you was something that's really interesting. I was reading a Twitter post about this, so it's actually funny that it came up. But it's a Radiant item for Amumu, right? There's nothing else I could have done. Even if it says it's plus Delta here, I don't think it's like bugged. It's like a negative item, right? It's just something to put on him. It says here once per combat at 40% health, gain a health shield. And then the last 10 seconds, and gain 60 armor and 60 magic resist. So it gives him a bunch of armor and magic resist, and it gives him a health shield. So it seems like it's really good. So I don't know why it's plus Delta. I think it's just like low size and like stuff like that and whatever. But I don't think it's necessarily a bad item to put on him. The funny part is that regular Protector's Vow, oh, it says 40%. They nerfed it. I think it's supposed to be changed. One of them is supposed to be 50% and one of them is supposed to be 40%. Like in the item descriptions, it says that. Wait, I'll go back in time. Wait, we'll see here. Look, see, so this one says 40%. Oh, this one says 40% too. Okay, maybe that's why. I think I just fucked up my items. Never mind, never mind. I'm just wrong. I'm just wrong. Never mind about this interlude. I was gonna say that the Protector's Vows are staggered, which is really interesting, but they're not. It's actually it's the Steadfast that's staggered. So Radiant Steadfast and regular Steadfast have different intervals. So like one of them says like 50%, one of them says 40%. The Protector's Vow says both 40%, so like whatever. But like I couldn't get like any of the good ones. Like this would have been really good, Radiant Declaw. But Radiant I'm on Amumu is probably fine. I'm 2 off Amumu. But I can't really roll for it because I really want to level to try and fit in 6 Arcanist, because even though I have these Dragon Lords and Altruist in, it's not as strong probably as 6 Arcanist. But as you can see, I'm playing against this Ghostly player. My Lux is just killing random shit, right? They're kind of stuck trying to kill my Amumu, and my Lux is just like fucking bowling, right? Like, you know, like insert the Wii strike music, right? Like what's the thing? Like you know, wait, let's do it. Let's make a meme, right? Right, it would be like, wow, it doesn't play it. Never mind. I can't find it. You know, like the fucking sound effect in Wii Sports where they say strike. That's what I'm imagining every time Lux shoots her ball. Anyway, sorry, we kind of devolved. Sorry, I've been off on a tangent. I was out all day today. I'm doing this super late. That's why the upload's gonna be really late. So you know, it was a really stressful day. But anyways, I'm stuck on level 7. People are capping really high. This guy's the guy that took the Stone Plate. He's very strong. The thing is, Aatrox isn't that good of a tank. So, you know, obviously, like, he has so many things that are like, look at his augments. I don't understand it. And he has duplicators. He's gonna hit everything probably at one point. But for right now, I'll take the win. As you can see, my Lux just killed everything but the Aatrox. Sniper's Focus, Lux 2. The problem is I'm slow rolling every round, and I'm not, as you can see here, I have 0 Zoes and 0 Luxes. This is what I mean by it's kind of low roll. As you can see now, I finally find 2 Luxes, but how do I phrase it? Considering that there's a Ghostly player buying so many 2 costs, I should be hitting the Lux, right? One of the big parts about hitting the Lux is that you're supposed to like natural it so that you can level, right? That's what I was talking about before. I'm not finding any Luxes, but it doesn't make sense to me because somebody's buying so many fucking 2 costs, right? I see a Senna here. The guy has like 7 Sennas. You know, isn't there 2 Ghostly players as well? I'm pretty sure there's 2 ghostly players in the lobby, or there's another guy that's like buying a lot of the ghostly units. Like I think there's one ghostly guy, one ink shadow guy, right? But it's like, bro, like everybody's buying 2 costs and I can't find any of the 2 costs, right? It's just really, really bad for me. Maybe I skipped one. I wasn't paying attention a lot. Here I'm not really buying like extra units. I'm rolling till around 30. I'm basically looking for like 1 extra Arcanist, and I'm also looking for like another Amumu. You might say to yourself, why level to 8? If you're not gonna, why not just roll on 7 for the Amumu 3? And you're right. The problem is, I don't think Amumu 3 is gonna matter against some of these matchups, right? Like this guy, for example. Morgana and Lilia, my Lux is gonna die no matter what. Because it's a Lux 2, right? So I just need more damage, right? The front line doesn't matter here, right? There's a couple matchups, even Lee Sin, like so there's certain matchups where like they have backline access, where eventually having the upgrades won't matter. See, like look at this, right? The Amumu is gonna be fine here because my Amumu is strong enough to tank. But this guy doesn't have Lilia 2 yet. But as you can see, my backline died well before my Amumu died, right? So the Amumu matters a lot, but you really need to like hit some units. Now I find Lysandra, which is pretty cool. So I'm thinking like, do I make the switch? I have an extra Nautilus in just for fun. I still have these Dragon Lords in, but I'm 5 Arcanists, so I'm trying to debating, do I drop the extra armor for the Arcanist? I say, yeah, fuck it. We're just gonna play 6 Arcanist. The one that I'm missing is Syndra, right? I have Ari on board. I'm looking for a Syndra. But as you can see, I'm rolling pretty deep. I'm not really finding Amumus, and I'm not really finding Zoes. I'm not really finding Luxes. The Lux is the big problem, right? I started the game on stage 2 with 2 Luxes. Up until now, like I know I'm level 8, but I did roll a decent amount of gold on level 7. I rolled for all of stage 4 on level 7, right? I did not find any Luxes. This is what I mean by sometimes you low roll, right? That's why the Arcanist +1 really matters, right? This Arcanist Warden crest is the only reason I'm still surviving. Now, mind you, Lux 2 is still bowling, and I'm still killing a lot of units. But imagine if this was a Lux 3. Imagine if all the gold I rolled on 7, I just randomly hit a Lux 3. I would be in such a winning spot. That's why this Lux is really strong, right? And as you can see, I'm the most HP in the lobby, baby, right? It doesn't matter that my board's shit. Like, do you look at this board? Look at this board. I'm Lux 2 carry. Amumu 2 with items. Nautilus 1. Nico Rakan. I have like 2 units upgraded. These are my only upgraded units on my board. Everything else is 1 star. Oh, sorry. Also the Alawi. Right? And I'm level 8. And I am very clearly, this is what I mean. This is what I mean by you're guaranteed a top 4. Because I kill so many units with the Lux. I cheese so many fights. Like a lot of these are like cheese, right? They're just not positioning for me, right? I scout, they're on the same side, whatever. Now I'm fighting a really strong, now I'm actually fighting a strong player. You'll see how the fight goes. You'll see that I'll have no chance of beating this guy, right? Fine Vintage, Duelist Crown, Combat Caster, Irelia with Radiant Item. Watch my whole board just get fucking deleted, right? But my Lux is gonna kill stuff, right? And that's the important part. Well, she missed, okay? That's another problem with Lux. Sometimes she fucking misses. But the whole point I'm trying to make is, that's how you have to kind of think of Arcanists, right? You shouldn't be like always playing for first, right? And like get really caught up in rolling for the units. A lot of times you just have to accept that you're going 4th, right? I look at this spot, clap the hands, it's a 4th, we're out of here. You know what I mean? Who cares, right? It's a 4th. I'm okay with that, right? I kind of knew going into this that it was a 4th, but that's like what I looked at. I looked at my dummy and I said, this is a guaranteed 4th if I don't risk it. Like I can risk it and go for first and play like Duelist Dragon Lord something or like Syndra something. But I was like, I'm just gonna take, I got dropped 2 Luxes and I just dropped a bunch of Amumus. I'm just gonna take the 4th, you know? I'm gonna take the 4th to the bank. You know, maybe I high roll something else. This guy hit everything like I said he would. That's fine. I'm not gonna beat him. Ideally I hit this Amumu 3 at least, but you know, I rolled all those gold on stage 4, so I just leveled because I want to be able to hit like level 9 at one point in the game, right? It'll probably spike me more, and then I could just swap items from this to the Syndra. That's like my main goal right now. It's like Lux was good up until now. I can just play 8 Arcanist Syndra. I can itemize Syndra, and I can itemize what's her name? Lysandra, right? I'll just itemize Syndra, Lysandra. I'll go to level 9. I'll play 8 Arcanist, 4 Warden on level 9, and that's it, right? Game over, right? That's what my goal is right now. That's like the only way I think I can squeak out a placement that's better. I think if right now I roll all my gold to 0, there's a chance I don't even hit this Amumu 3, and there's a chance I don't even find the Syndra 2, right? In my head, I'm like, is it worth it, right? It's definitely not worth it to play 8 Arcanists now because I'll lose too much frontline, right? To play 8 Arcanists, I have to lose this and this. I can technically lose the Rakan. The Rakan isn't really doing that much. He's just kind of sitting pretty over there, right? I can definitely play something better than Rakan right now. But he gives Dragon Lord, so whatever. I'll just rock it. I'm not beating this Duelist guy either. The only way I see myself of maybe getting like a third or a second is if I make it to level 9, I play 4 Warden, 8 Arcanists, and I itemize Syndra and Lissandra, and I just hope it's enough to like kill everything off, right? That's like my goal, right? That I have enough burst damage that like, you know, Lissandra with 3 items, 8 Arcanists, maybe she just one-shots the Lee Sin, right? That's what my thought process is at this point, right? And if I save my gold, I can go level 9 on 6-1, right? So, you know, I'm gonna take a bad loss here, 18 HP, you know, maybe 2 lives, but probably only 1 life, right? I can roll a little bit. I see the set, so now I'm that's my game plan now, right? This is what I was saying before, right? If you have enough money, sometimes with this particular board, you can try to level and play towards like a Syndra carry instead, right? Because if you don't hit the 3 stars, right? I did roll a good amount, right? I rolled to 50 gold like every turn for all of stage 4. If I found a couple more, like obviously the Amumu's really close, but I could go for Amumu 3. I understand that, but I'm telling you now, there's too much backline access in the remaining teams. Rolling for the Amumu 3 won't really change my positioning in my opinion. Having Amumu 3 is really great. You might look at me and say, this guy's fucking dumb. Amumu 3 would have swayed so many of those fights. I don't think so. I think all my units are dead, and I'm left with just an Amumu 3, and I don't think Amumu 3 could solo the boards, right? I don't think Amumu 3 versus Lee Sin and Aurelia is going to do anything. So I level to 9, I have 30 gold. I pair the Syndra. I try rolling. I find Lissandra. I'm rolling. I'm basically looking for Syndra. I found my Zoe replacement. I'm rolling a little bit slow here, obviously. This is a little bit awkward. And I run out of time. Hopefully it's enough to at least win this fight. I didn't find the Syndra 2. I didn't even find a Syndra pair. But basically, I should have sold this Zoe and put the items on the Lissandra. That was my goal, right? If I manage my time a little bit better, that's totally on me. I think I could at least live this fight. As you can see here, I get completely waxed. It's basically perfect lethal, so I just go 4th. I could have lived 1 more turn, right? This is really important to note. This is just purely on me. It's not based on like the units or the gameplay. If I itemized Lissandra with 3 items, right? I could have put Adaptive Helm, this and this, like 3 items on Lissandra, place her in front of the Lee Sin. I'm pretty sure she could one-shot the Lee Sin, or at least do enough damage to the Lee Sin that he basically gets removed from the fight. Lux positioning should be on this side because we're trying to snipe the Aurelia, right? Those 2 things, I would have killed at least, if I killed 1 more unit here, I think I live with like 1 HP. So all I needed to do was kill 1 more unit. My positioning is god-awful. Really bad time management on the last round. I was too fixated on rolling, and that's why I went 3rd here. Now, was I gonna sorry, that's why I went 4th here. Now, was I gonna go like 3rd here? Maybe if I hit Syndra and I swapped all my items, I can go 3rd. Like that was my game plan. But if you look at these boards, I'm pretty sure this guy, oops, let me just rewind a little bit. Sorry about that. Sorry, I cut this VOD. This VOD got cut really soon. Let's just look at the remaining boards. This is what I mean. If I look at these boards, right, let's just pause just to see the final screens, right? This Duelist guy is not, this Duelist guy was the guy I played. I think I could, I don't think I beat him, but I could have, lived 1 more fight, right? And then maybe who knows what happens. Like if you win 1 fight and then you get an item, you win 1 more fight, then all of a sudden you can play. But I don't think I'm playing for first. I'm pretty sure this guy always beats me. Just because like I just don't have enough tankiness, and there's just too much like backline access with the Morgana. And I think he's like multiple Ink Shadow, multiple Ghostly. But I might beat this guy. There's a chance I beat this guy. This guy I really don't think I beat. With a Wukong 2 and a Lee Sin 2 and all upgraded units and an Aurelia with Radiant item, I'm pretty sure I don't beat this guy. So if I just position better, right? If I put some of these, even putting these items on Lissandra, like Protector's Vow is really good on Lissandra, right? Even like if I had itemized Lissandra and positioned better, I might have won 1 fight, and then I could have also played for like 3rd, 2nd, but I'm not too sad about that because the chances are I would have probably gone in 4th anyways. right? Because they nerfed Lysandra a lot, she doesn't do the stun. It's not like old school Lysandra where she stuns everybody. So I probably would have, this is probably the best I was going to place this game. But that's kind of like the idea behind Arcanists, right? If you high roll and you hit everything, you play for first. If you don't hit these guys, then you gotta play for like a fourth, and you just gotta like push levels and try and fit in like a lot of units so they have a lot of AP. Anyways, thank you for watching. Hope this was enjoyable. Like I said, if you want more of a traditional Arcanist reroll game, I do have those on my channel, and you can check those out. And there's a lot more informative on like actually rerolling with like 6 Arcanists and all of that. Thank you. Bye bye.